Do you want a second referendum?
Well, to be honest, after the bitter, divisive experience last time, I'm somebody who's not at all keen on a second referendum. Am I surprised that so many people do want a second referendum? No. Look, I'm not somebody who could be construed as some sort of Euro fanatic. I have huge reservations about the EU. I campaigned to stay on the basis of remain and reform. And when we lost the referendum result, I accepted that. But let's just look back at what's happened. We were promised by Liam Fox that negotiating a deal with the EU would be the easiest thing in the world. The likes of David Davis echoed that. Whenever any of us, not even criticised, even scrutinised the process, we were called enemies of the people, saboteurs, traitors and mutineers, and worse. And then what happens? We have the government now talking about a no-deal scenario where we will have, and I'm quoting Dominic Raab, the Brexit Secretary, adequate food, where we will have stockpiling of food and medicine, and where the army will be on standby to distribute food and medicine. They didn't put that on the side of a big red bus, did they? And the reality is we have a Conservative government now, in hock, obviously, to the hardcore, ideologically driven Brexiteers, who risk driving this country over the cliff with a no-deal Brexit, which will cause calamitous, potentially, economic consequences for this country. So, no, I'm not surprised people are disillusioned. And those con men who made all these promises, history will be very damning, I think, for what they've done.
Let's bring in Jonathan. Your view, Jonathan. It sounds, as we heard there from Owen, calamitous. Would you agree?
I think some of the predictions of doom and gloom and calamity coming from continuity remain campaigners are frankly quite irresponsible. They have spent the last 18 months or so since the referendum, rather than constructively trying to engage with delivering the result of Brexit, of the referendum, which the public voted for. They've been seeking to undermine the result, to try and reverse the result, to challenge the result, basically do anything but accept the result and make Brexit work, which it absolutely should be able to do. And I think those who are promoting those irresponsible scare stories, I mean, over the weekend we were told that Brexit might cause the spread of super gonorrhea, for goodness sake. You know, there are some real irresponsible scare stories being put about there, which I think that should not be the case. On the same token, I think the government absolutely needs to reassure the public. You talk there about the no-deal planning that the government is doing. We know they've been doing that over a period of time. Frankly, they should be more open and answering a lot of the nonsense that's coming out and explaining what is being done in a sober and sensible fashion so that people know that the government is on top of all of this.
Owen?
Never take responsibility. Look, the people he's arguing against there have nothing to do with me. If you want somebody who wants to be an arch critic of the Remain campaign, the official Remain campaign, and continuity Remain, I'm your guy. They were a dire campaign, this awful corporate establishment campaign, and continuity official Remain campaigners who have refused to learn the mistakes of that last campaign in a country which is disillusioned with a broken status quo and a society which is rigged against their interests. So I have no sympathy with official Remain campaigners. But this is what we're talking about now. They made promises to us, the official Leave campaign, did they not? Booming Britain, prosperity. We've ended up with the worst growth of any advanced country, a stagnation of wages. We've now gone through the worst squeeze in wages of any industrialised country other than Greece. That squeeze came back after the referendum. They promised us the easiest possible deal, and they're now talking about stockpiling food and medicine and the army patrolling the streets to distribute those desperately needed goods which we all rely on to survive. That's what this is about. This is about, because it's not scaremongering, this is literally the official preparations for a no-deal Brexit. And we have people like this who come on television and instead of taking responsibility, they always blame other people. We lost. I accept we lost the referendum. Your guys are now implementing it. We're heading towards the no-deal Brexit you wanted. Now you have to take responsibility for what you wanted. This is on you now, not the Remainers, not people like me who lost the referendum. This is on you.
Jonathan, it's on you and your kind.
Well, see, I don't want a no-deal Brexit. I think there's every reason we should have a reasonable deal between the UK and the European Union. It will be in both our interests to do so. But at the same time, I don't think we should accept a punishment deal from the European Union, which is what some are suggesting could happen. And the government needs to prepare for every scenario. If the government weren't preparing for every scenario, I dare say Owen would be the first person out there saying it was irresponsible of the government not to be doing that and making all that kind of preparation. It's important they do that. But you've got a lot of people who are saying we need a second referendum now. All the people who are saying we want another referendum now are people who didn't like the result of the first one. The fact is we had a referendum. More people voted for Brexit than voted for anyone or anything in British electoral history, and it's incumbent on the government to deliver on that result, because failure to do so, or some kind of attempt to reverse that result, would create the most cataclysmic constitutional crisis.
No. Yeah, I mean, that's democracy for you. That's the way we voted. That's what the government has to make work.
Who is he arguing against here? I've said at the very beginning of what I said that I don't support a second referendum. This country was plunged into an extremely divisive referendum last time. We have bitter divisions of a sort we've not had in peacetime in this country as a consequence. So I don't know who he's arguing against. We have to find a way, yes, of making Brexit work. For example, with a customs union to prevent a hard border in Ireland and also to secure prosperity. That's not what Jonathan wants. He wants a Brexit, which is impossible, which is why, because the Conservatives, under Theresa May, are doing what he wants, which is to argue for a deal which is not on the table. That's why we're heading for no deal Brexit. And I wouldn't just ask him a very straight question. Were we not misled by those politicians who said that Brexit would be one of the easiest things in the world, that we'd easily negotiate a free trade deal with the European Union? Just be honest now, Jonathan.
Well, the European
Was the public misled? Yes. Don't try and blame others for what was promised, because people knew, we were warned. People on the other side said that the EU would not accept such a deal, that it would not be a walkover. So don't try and use the EU as a scapegoat. Were we not misled by politicians on the Leave side who made it out like this would be a walk in the park?
Okay.
Answer the question.
Not at all, because back in March, the EU themselves, Michel Barnier, talked about putting a free trade agreement in the style of the Canada deal on the table for Britain to take. And that's exactly the style of deal that is one that we should be seeking.
Again, we've had now the Chequers agreement, which, to be honest, we don't know where that lies.
Well, Michel Barnier effectively killed it off last Friday when he said that the facilitating customs arrangement was a non-starter.
Was it not the case that those who said it would be a walk in the park were challenged, and those on the other side said it wouldn't be a walk in the park? Has it been a walk in the park? Has this been the easiest thing to do? That's what we were promised by the likes of Liam Fox. Has that happened?
Well,
we're 2 years on for the referendum now.
The government has not taken up the European Union on the suggestion of a Canada-style free trade agreement, which is exactly what they should be aiming at right now.
You're answering the question there, Jonathan. Just want to answer the question?
Which particular one?
The question that's just been posed by Owen. Would you like him to say it again?
I will ask it again. We were promised by politicians on the Leave side, like Liam Fox, that this would be one of the easiest things in the world. Has that happened, yes or no?
OK.
It hasn't, because the government has not taken up the EU on its suggestion of a Canada-style deal, which is exactly what they should be doing now.
Again, I mean, they just never take responsibility. The fact is, the deal that you wish at the moment, the likes of Jacob Rees-Mogg, the hard right of the Conservative Party, what they've been pushing for is just not palatable. It's not going to happen, which is why clearly what we should be arguing for is a customs union with the European Union, not least to safeguard peace in Northern Ireland. But
Jonathan, we're almost out of time. Last 20 seconds to you. Go.
We can't be in a customs union with the European Union because we wouldn't have control of trade policy, and part of the referendum was about voting to take back control of our trade policy, of our borders, our laws, our money. The government needs to ensure that it delivers on that result, because if it doesn't, then faith in the process will be massively dented.
Well, from take back control to stockpiling food and medicine.
Come back and talk to me again very soon. Thank you both very much indeed for joining us. We really appreciate it.